the tag team division is by far one of my favorite divisions in all of wrestling. It's actually what got me into watching the WWE, you know. Like the cruiserweights were very cool to see. The women's division being elevated to where it is now has been a wonderful sight to see. But for me, I love the chemistry of tag teaming. And that got me thinking, since we're halfway through an entire decade, can you imagine that? Who have been the best tag teams of the past 5 years? My name is Dom from the DDE channel, and today you'll be coming with me to learn, discover, and talk about the 10 best tag teams from 2020 to 2025. Let's get into it. Number 10, these aren't going to be numbered, by the way, like in specific numbers, but I do want to start with number 10, The Revival, aka FTR in AEW. Now, technically, they are in this list because they didn't leave, I believe, until January of 2020. They were in that year. They were there. They were there. But also, I do want to highlight the talent that is Dax and Cash. Former, let's see, Scott and Dash. Golly, I hate when they don't change. I hate that they change their names very similar to like what they were to each other's. It's just old styled wrestling. It's the wrestling you would imagine your father to watch and talk about. See that team right there? That was the team that we all booed back in my day. Like, they bring that old school style wrestling into the tag teaming world while still being, you know, modern day with how their tactics of cheating or their tag team chemistry is very modern and smooth. You know what I mean? They're a really wonderful sight to see, and like again, I praise it enough. It just brings back ground and pound old style in wrestling. Just fists, no flips. They're honestly such an underused tag team in the WWE, to the point where I low-key kind of hope they come back. I'd like to see what this kind of team and FTR would look like in the current day. Well, not now, because all their tag teams have been fucking released. But before the release of the tag team, imagine them slotting into the Raw tag team division. That'd be sick. Yeah, number 10 for the Revivals, dude. Number 9, I decided to put Fraxium, only because I haven't seen enough of Fraxium. I know they were a team from NXT, Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I know they started a team because they were feuding, and that it's like the Bar situation where they were feuding. They had a series of 7 or so matches, and then they decided to become a team from that. And by them becoming a team from that, they, in words of a bunch of other people and creators, became single-handedly one of the best tag teams in that NXT roster by far, to the point to where they left NXT and the NXT tag team division just felt empty. But they bring such fast-paced intensity to their matches that I and my ADD brain quite honestly enjoys. I love things to just go fast moving, fast flying, kicks, strikes. Oh wow, what a move. The golden ratio is by far the coolest finisher I've seen so far. It's fucking Liu Kang's super kick to the fucking jaw is so cool. I think Fraxium have not fallen into the very unfortunate void of good team on bad tag team show. I really think they could have been tag team champions by now on SmackDown. I'm actually a little disappointed they didn't pull the switch at SummerSlam, because I did low-key predict Fraxium to win that match, that ladder match, that 16 ladder match. You know, it just went to the white 6, you know what I mean? But I really feel like they have such a fast intensity for smaller guys too, to have in the tag team division that just makes it exciting to watch. It makes you want to pay attention to the tag team division. Number 8 on my list, I have DIY, and it's the same thing with Fraxium. I never had a taste of what DIY as a tag team was. I was starting to watch wrestling in 2015, but I didn't watch NXT. I didn't really get into NXT until very recently, actually, like 2023, 2024ish was when I started like kind of dipping my toe into NXT. So I missed all of DIY stuff, but there's stuff on the main roster though, as the current DIY, because that's, to be honest, what we're looking at was good. The tag team division was flourishing very early on in 2025. Yeah, 2025. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to remember my days. It was that tag team division was flourishing, dude. And the center point of that, to an extent, was DIY. Holding the tag team champions, starting feuds with the Profits, Motor City Machine Guns, not the Wyatts, the Bloodline, the MFTs, and I just like the very technical aspect of them. The me in the middle finisher is awesome. I like that, and I hate that Ciampa had to go to AEW, but yeah, he is doing much better things in AEW. While Johnny is honestly having the best job in the world, he's actively getting paid main roster money to be with his wife, travel the world, and lay down on a crate for like 30 seconds of a segment. What a job. Holy shit. But as a team, yeah, man, I've been not going back, but every opportunity I get to see a DIY match, like if I'm scrolling through YouTube, it's like, hey, DIY versus the War Raiders or some shit, or some whatever they got. It is like a, check that match. I can vibe with both of those teams in a match. Number 6, we have KO Zania. That's what I've called them. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn when they won the undisputed tag team champions from the Usos. It's more, and I think the only reason I'm putting them on this list right now is they just had such an amazing story to getting those tag team champions, to where I would argue and say, purely because of Cody losing to Reigns, that was the better main event. It was big, it felt important, the stars were bright, and it had such a good ending to where you had to just love Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, brother and brother, beating the actual brothers, hugging and loving each other because they won these tag team champions. They bring such good emotion when they tag, dude. It genuinely feels like you connecting with your best friend and doing something you've wanted to do. Yo, I've talked about doing this escape room for years, and I finally got to do it with my best friend. It just makes the moment sweeter and better. And I think that's why I really like their tag team. They feel real. They are just two very good friends doing the thing they love the most, and that is wrestling, and that's being with each other wrestling. And I love that. They really have such a good connection and chemistry when it comes to teaming, and I really hate that they broke the team up and turned Kevin heel. Because I honestly could have gone, honestly, if Kevin had not gotten hurt, I honestly would argue and say they should still be a tag team. Maybe not tag team champions, but I still believe they should be a tag team not to this day, probably like off the back in the end of like Mania 30 or Mania 41, but they still be like a prevalent tag team to like connect on and off had Kevin not gotten hurt. I miss Kevin Owens every day. And to round out my bottom half, I have the RK Bros. I really put them in here because it was really at a point in wrestling in WWE specifically It was so bad. Every Monday. Fridays were a little bit better because it felt like Fridays had an active story that was interesting enough to hook you in, but everything outside of that story just wasn't good. Raw was just terrible. NXT was failing. The only good wrestling that was going on was on AEW. And so with all of this just piles and piles of shit of a show to watch, there was always a golden light, and that was RK Bro. Matt Riddle works so well when dealing with a straight man in Randy Orton. Like, I learned recently that apparently Matt Riddle, it was Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne apparently had a team in NXT called the Broserweights? The Broserweights, I think that's what it was. I think it was Broserweight. But, I watched some of those segments. They're very funny. And so yeah, he gets called up, and kind of he's honestly on a decently level playing field as of at the time an AJ Styles, a Sami Zayn that was like mid card to higher mid card. Like, he was in a prevalent spot, but he could never really jump. He was the United States champion too. Randy Orton was coming off of the feud of the worst Mania match, I'd argue and say, The Fiend versus Randy Orton. I don't want to talk about it because it makes me sad, and because of really not wanting to work with people, Randy was like, I mean, I'll work with Riddle, why not? And they created gold. They created such a duo. It honestly made Matt Riddle feel like a main eventer because he was partnered with Randy, and on the other side, Randy felt human. I think since I've been watching wrestling in 2015, I've never looked at Randy Orton as a human, because he's either been a guy that's there or a psychotic murderer trying to kill Jeff Hardy. And to see him smile and laugh and joke with Matt Riddle about weed and his goofiness, it made me feel more related to Randy. And that's actually why I like Randy nowadays more than I did I'd say as early as probably 2019, as early as that time, because that was a Randy we were supposed to hate. But even then, it was just like, oh, he's a legend, so we gotta, Randy, woohoo. But I felt connected to Randy because of Riddle. They just weirdly worked. The very odd pairing worked so well. At number 5, I've put down the Judgment Day, specifically when it was Finn, Damian, Dom, and Rhea. Specifically those 4 core members of the Judgment Day. Because I'll be honest, I really liked the Judgment Day when it was just those 4. I honestly think even when they added JD, it was a little bit of like a why though? It was, y'all had something very good with the 4 of y'all. You know what I mean? Like, I understand why they added JD later, because then you could have Damian as the world champion. Rhea was the women's world champion at one point. At one point, Dom was going for the North American champion, I think it was. It was that or the IC title at that time. And then you could have had, Finn and JD for the tag team champions. Or even hell, Finn or JD and Dom for the tag team champions at one point they were going. But, I'm keeping that in, excuse me. Jesus, I'm sorry about that. But, there was something about the core 4 of the Judgment Day that felt cool. They felt cool, especially when, I now remember it. It was such a cool entrance. Dom holding the North American champion, Rhea holding the SmackDown Women's champion, at that point now the World Heavyweight champion for women, and Damian and Finn are just holding both sets of tag team belts, making their entrance, and the Money in the Bank briefcase. They were stacked on stacked on stacked with champions and accomplishments, and it was very cool to see. You know what I mean? I really thought this team was the coolest team. I mean, they fucking got lame. They got lame as the times went on. But I'd say their best year was that 2022 to 2023, 2022 to 2020, no, 2023 to 2024. That little whole period there was honestly their best year, because it was then after that where they started to splinter and break and argue and dramas and all that stuff, bro. But every now and then I'll just see that image of all of them championed up, holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I just smile, because that was I was so cool to see that Judgment Day. And at one point, believe it or not, they did feel like a bit of a threat within the tag team universe, mainly because Damian was built up as this like big, like the big dude of the Judgment Day that you didn't want problems with. And I miss that Damian. We don't get that Damian now. Well, we do, but it's not as cool. At number 4, I have the Street Profits, and I have them on here mainly because it does show, and it can be proven, that even within a tag team, you can have a team with a team identity. If you split them up for a little bit, you could have each men be very good single stars. I know they haven't had like a split up, and I know they really haven't had, apart from Montez being in the Elimination Chamber, but they haven't had really like a defining singles run. But I look at both men within Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, and I really do think that individually they could honestly be big stars, upper mid card to main event stars. I really think they could be the next future stars of wrestling had they had that chance. But I also do feel like the fact that they are such a unit as a team, I really feel like that's such a cool thing to have. You know what I mean? Like the next people on this list have had, in a way, individual runs. Apart from number 2, they haven't really had the individual runs. But I know my next team and then the number 1 team, they've had individual runs, and even then they never, both stars never felt like they could be. Well, no, one of them felt like they could be a top star, but I honestly, I'm saying this with full belief, I honestly think if they had split them up in, what was that, 2020, what, 3? Yeah, 2023. Had they split them up in 2023 and had Montez stay on Raw, move Dawkins to SmackDown, I do truly believe they would have honestly been somewhat of a top star. I think Montez more than Dawkins, but I do think Dawkins could still be a good hand to have near the main event of a SmackDown. But we're here to talk about the tag teams. I don't know why I started talking about their singles runs, had they ever had one. I just think the only reason I have them this high is because I really like the chemistry. I think the friendship and the brotherhood of the Street Profits, I feel more of than Sammy and Kevin. I know they had that emotional pull with Sammy and Kevin, but this is more of a brotherhood I feel myself having with like one of my cousins, one of my brothers, one of my friends, to where I'm really like, dog, if we just like lock in, that's the shit we could be doing. Think about it. I really feel like the Street Profits could really like pull like the inspiration out of people. You know what I mean? Because if you look at the beginning of their careers too, the same thing with Kevin and Sammy, but if you also look at the beginning of their careers, it really did feel like they shouldn't be in this position. Dawkins was more of like a glorified jobber in a way in NXT, and they brought in Montez to really do nothing. So they're like, I mean, fuck it, we'll just throw y'all two together, and they built that chemistry within NXT, on Raw, on SmackDown, and all I think that they're missing is just a significant like feud. Like the only like the only like Street Profits feud I can say and being like that's gold right there was the Usos. You know what I mean? I think that's the only thing they're missing, just a primary feud. But I love the Street Profits so much. At number 3, we have the role models, Bayley and Sasha Banks, because they single-handedly within the women's division held that down during COVID. They were on every Raw, they were on every SmackDown. They had the SmackDown champion, they had the Raw champions, the tag team champions. They were showing up on NXT, defending them belts, having good storylines. They worked more, and like they held down that whole women's division in all of the COVID years from what, late 2019 basically till 2022. If you think about it, yeah, they were just the primary team to have. And even when they did split up eventually, they had an amazing feud, I'd say, in that Hell in a Cell match. Sasha went on to do honestly better things outside of WWE, but even then she's still being talked about as one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. And Bayley, I think, is a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the work she's put in. First women's Grand Slam champion. I won't, like, you can win. I don't care what Charlotte Flair says. She is the first women's Grand Slam champion. I really just think that, yeah, the role models just really held it down, bro. And I think for that, you deserve to be notarized as one of the best tag teams in the WWE's in the 2020s. You know what I mean? I feel like that's well deserved. It's because WWE didn't deserve, because they didn't give Bayley that deservation because they kept her off of the Mania card of what, 39? Bullshit. Number 2, the tag team I have at number 2, and it kinda hurts my soul because for years I have fought, debated, and argued the fact that they are the number 1 team. But I feel like they have fallen out of number 1 status, and it's not to the fault of their own. It's the fault of the company, because that number 2 is the New Day. I have fought, scratched, and clawed my way into people's minds, telling them that this is the best team they have on their rosters. This is by far the greatest tag team they had. And it was using the stat of they're the longest tag team champions, you know? That means something. But it is the fact of a stable, of a trio. No matter what that trio being had beautiful chemistry. And it's so weird, the fact that they're no longer in, there's no resemblance of the New Day no more. Big E went out with injury, but we still had Kofi and Woods. But maybe Kofi would come, maybe Kofi would be hurt, or Woods would be hurt. We would still have Kofi coming out repping New Day. We had Woods coming out repping New Day. And now none of them are active wrestlers. Well, Kofi and Woods are still active, just not in the WWE anymore. They haven't wrestled though, but they're still able to wrestle. But the chemistry all three of them had, both in ring, out the ring, just is beautiful. It is a blend of styles you couldn't teach in a way. I strongly believe this is a style that has to happen naturally. You can just put people together and say, y'all are now a team, y'all have to work together. I feel like the New Day were told y'all have to work together and said, bet, how do we, what connects all of us? And they, whatever that may have been for them, they took whatever connected them and made that magical. Which means that the best tag team, fix my mic, in WWE of the past 5 years, half a decade, is the Usos, baby. Dog, and I'll be completely honest with you, if you really want to go off of like the New Day being a faction, Judgment Day being the entire bloodline, honestly, is the best thing to have happened in the past 5 years. Like, the bloodline started in 2021. Yeah, they started like late 2021, and the fact that they are still technically going on to this day, like they broke off into separate groups of like, yeah, you have the Usos, you have the MFTs, Gorillas of Destiny at one point. The fact that they built a whole universe, cinematic universe of themselves for the bloodline, is outstandingly beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, everything that group touched for years, it immediately added like an extra pair of like spectacles for everybody to see. Yo, because it was more of a thing of like, yo, Roman Reigns has climbed the ladder of being probably, honestly, the most known WWE superstar at that time in years. I think the second biggest one that was still currently active at the time was Randy Orton. But everybody was talking about Roman. And by that point with Roman, it bled down to the Usos being universally and factually now the greatest tag team of all time. You know what I mean? Their matches were always good. Their promos were good. Like, everything that the bloodline and the Usos and Roman, Solo, Sammy, everybody dealing with the bloodline did, all gold. You know what I mean? There were some misses, of course, as all teams and factions go through, but I think overall the Usos, and by faction the bloodline, are the best tag team of all time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Please turn on the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I upload. And if you like any of the music that was made in this video, your boy did that. Your boy makes music too. Go subscribe to the second channel so you get notified for more music. I promise, I haven't uploaded that channel for about 2 years. I'm actually currently working on something for that channel. I promise on y'all guys. But no, this isn't taken away from this channel. You will be still getting your normally scheduled content on this channel. But yeah, I'll see you when I see you. I love you. Take care. Bye.